Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know wants to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized sports training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get better off the ball, or you are an athlete wanting to improve your speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA. Visit DNASportsDenver.com now and sign up.
Yeah.
Yo.
Back at it again for another one of those another ones.
Another one. we need Khaled's voice right there. Another one.
About to sample it. We'll get that sample, bro. We'll be good. Khaled be cool with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, officially sponsored by DJ Khaled. Let's get that DNA money rolling in. What up, brother?
What up, man? Coach Dom here with my partner, Coach Al.
What's going on, everybody?
Not much, man. Make sure before we get started, make sure you will all go check out DNASportsDenver.com right now. Get some merch, book a session, drop a mailbag question, or just check out the website in general, man. Show us some love. We're here to show y'all love, so show us some love right back.
As always, DNASportsDenver.com/AskDNA. If you want to get part of the program, jump on and give us some comments on what you want to hear, the questions you want to ask. It's always open forum here, man. We love to hear back from you guys. Got a great show in tap for today. I mean, hitting a lot of stuff. Spring season's here. We've got some information on Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis fight. Yeah. Billboard, we attacked that Billboard Top 50 Rappers, which got Don boiled over here before we getting going. Reaction to the Nuggets, reaction to John Morant. We got a lot going on, so we appreciate you for tuning in as usual. Find us at DNASportsDenver.com. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If there was a MySpace still, we'd be on MySpace. I think there still is, but I don't think anyone's going there.
But instead of being on MySpace, we're trying to be on your space. So make sure you check out DNASportsDenver.com so we could be all up in that.
You see how Coach Dom do it? He's almost just like professional here. He's almost a professional.
Slightly getting
We're
there.
getting there, man. We're getting there. We're growing.
You got to crawl before you walk.
We're not just going through it. We're growing through it, as
That's
Coach
right.
Dom loved to say.
That's right. That's right.
Yo, man, it was a great night of UFC last night. I don't know how much you caught of that.
I had every intention of watching the whole entire thing, but to be real, I think I probably only got through the first fight before I fell asleep.
Oh,
I'm old, Coach.
Coach Dom over here falling asleep. This is what he what's going on, man?
Well, the family, we were chilling.
Oh, you gonna blame the family?
Yeah, man. Like, I had me a nice cerveza, you know what I mean? And
just a cerveza?
Just one before they wanted to leave and go get ice cream. And then I had some ice cream, and that just put me on me time, bro. Didn't have another brew, and I passed out.
It's hard for me to mix sweet with liquor.
I should have never did it.
Like, it makes me not want to drink. We had these. You ever see this root beer? It's called not your granddaddy's root beer or something like that. It's it's alcoholic root beer.
Oh,
so it's got some alcohol in it, and we had root beer floats outside of out in the parking lot for one of my oldest son's baseball games back in the day. And man,
allegedly,
dude, I can't do. It's hard for me to mix sweet. I'm so grown now. I just drink my liquor straight because it's hard to mix like sweet things in with unless I'm sipping like a cold daiquiri in the sun or something like that. And even that, like I've done the yardstick in Vegas, the 3 yardstick in Vegas. Where you're walking around, you put a freaking strap on this thing so you can carry it around the strip. Stupid, but the big ass frozen daiquiri things you get in Vegas, man. And I drink one of those, dude, and I feel like the next morning I think the sugar is more of a problem than the actual alcohol is.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was making my own drinks one time and had a little more grenadine than alcohol. Probably almost went into diabetic shock.
You ever have a candy Coronas?
No.
So it's like it's a Corona with a little bit of grenadine in it. It actually tastes pretty good. My homie Cam, shout out to my homie Cam's. My homie Cam's turned me on to that stuff. They're actually not bad. So like back in the day, if you was partying with the ladies or whatever, and sometimes the ladies don't want to drink beer. And
Sweeten it up. Here you go, girl. Here you go, girl. I got you.
And let's say from the hood, then they drinking 40s and burping in your face like better than you can,
Hey,
but. Nah,
like a cherry skunk.
Yeah. But yeah, Candy Coronas, they're all right, man. You do what you got to do sometimes. Dude, spring's here. Like we're literally almost like a week, 2 weeks away from spring being official. And I just started track and field over at North, and you've got all the spring sports going on. Spring training starting up for the Rockies, and they're already the Rockies. So we'll spend a little time on that. But it's that time of year, man. It's kind of exciting. Grass is going to start turning green, and trees are going to start blooming.
Yeah, man, we're just wrapping up. For me, we're just wrapping up wrestling and basketball for my kids. We have, another week of basketball, the final stretch to the championship, and hopefully we get it done, But both years have been successful. My son, just killed it in wrestling first year, placed in every single tournament he's been in.
Shout out to DJ, boy.
Just took the WSWL rookie 90 to 125 8U champion.
Nice.
He did his thing, bro, and he owes it to his coaches. All the coaches over at North High School they put in a lot of time with these kids, and they teaching them more than just how to be a great athlete, and how to really want something and apply themselves. And I couldn't be more appreciative. And based off of this year's success, I don't see anybody else ever coaching my son in wrestling. So, shout out to all of them, every single one of them. There's far too many to mention. But two of the main ones, Coach Sess and Coach Zach, they're holding it down. That family, shout out to Coach Zach's pops, at all these tournaments, pulling my son to the side and giving his input on how he trained and coached his boys growing up and how he was coached, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, get a little bit of old school flavor in there, So, shout out to all that. It's been great. NBA playoffs, man, are heating up.
Yeah, man. And, before I just want to give a shout out to that program because it's crazy. That program's been going there's been a few different coaches over the years, over the last 10, 15 years or whatever, but that program's been running solid, man. So shout out to all them guys, Pete Ozug, all them guys, man. It's great to see that what they do for them kids. And a lot of state, in the high school this year, there's a lot of state placers, qualifiers that come from that program, and it's not just they don't all end up at North High School, but they come from that program. So shout out to them boys that put that work in for that. Yeah, man, you mentioned it, dude. There's a lot of stuff coming up. NBA playoffs. We're getting to that home stretch in both the NBA and the NHL, and the Avalanche and the Nuggets seem to be hitting their stride, which I'm very, very excited for. Despite all the craziness in the Western Conference of the NBA, with everyone kind of tooling up, and the Lakers thought they were going to make this run, and then LeBron gets hurt, and AD's out here and there, so it's kind of rough for them guys. Phoenix looked good yesterday. They're starting to come into their own. Dallas has looked horrible. They haven't looked great, and I find it interesting that the Clippers, they're starting to just slide.
Yeah, but Dallas, man, for me, I question if they're all of a sudden sleeper. Right now, they're sitting at the 6th seed, right? But with the addition that they just had with Kyrie, I think him and Luka combined the other day for 80-something points.
Yeah, that was probably their best game that they've had together. They haven't played a lot together yet.
But my thing is, if they can figure out how to keep that consistent, they can be very dangerous, And of course, that's two players. If either one of those go down, we're looking at the same Dallas team.
Yeah, but I think the most important part right now for like Dallas and Phoenix is they figure out how to play with each other before they get to the playoffs. And if they do that, they become very formidable and dangerous in the playoffs. But don't look now. You've got Golden State, they went 5-0 on a homestand. They've won 5 straight. They're sitting there now at the 5th seed after dangling in the play-in playing pool for most of the season. They're starting to get a little bit healthy. That's a scary team.
It is. Always.
Yeah.
Right? That's like letting Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it comes a certain time, and used to see it with the Yankees. You mentioned Brady and the Patriots. You see it with certain teams, the Chiefs. Like, you know what? We'll go through the motions during the regular season, make sure that we do what we have to do to get, the spot, win our division, right? And then when the playoffs come, it's a whole different animal. I mean, Golden State did it last year. I think the playoffs was the first time that Clay, Draymond, and Steph had played together all season. So, I'm not surprised to see Golden State making that push. I am surprised to see the Clippers falling out of things. They actually flip-flop with Golden State in terms of positioning. I think at the trade deadline, the Clippers were fourth or fifth in the NBA West, and since adding the additions they added with Bones Highland, Plumlee, bringing in Russell Westbrook, they've actually been on a little bit of a losing streak and just a slide. They've lost 5 straight. They're 3-7 in their last 10. So they're kind of moving the wrong direction. I mentioned the Lakers earlier.
Is it because they took ex-Nuggets?
I think, man, there's something about chemistry, bro.
Nah. Hey, you know what's crazy? Though also the playoffs are heating up, right? But the number 2 team in the West right now has a lot going on around them, bro.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna bring that up, but I was waiting for you to soften the blow. Ja Morant, man. I don't know. Memphis Grizzlies. They haven't done so well since over the last couple of weeks, since right before the All-Star break. They're kind of having their own little slide. They were right up there, like one game behind the Nugs and whatnot in that Western Conference, and it's the Nuggets that put on a 6-game lead on them. They beat them the other night. Ja Morant went to the club and was I hate to say allegedly because the picture shows it all, but was live streaming on Instagram with a pistol in the club. And man, just when you think this guy can't do anything more dumb, he goes and does this. And he's we kind of talked about it, and we'll talk about it now. He's had a lot of stuff going on around him over the last month and a half that's starting to come to light, that really is starting to put some pause on not only the Memphis Grizzly organization, but also the NBA, and wondering, is this somebody that they can use to market their brand?
Exactly. And he's doing a lot of damage to himself. Really, it's he's self-destructing, kind of in the likes of of former athletes that we've seen in the past, Damon Arnett, Maurice Claret. You just come to think of guys like that who've had all the opportunity in front of them, but decide to allow their past to continue to pull them back into it, and I don't get the whole this is who I am, so I just don't get it, man. Like, you're a professional athlete, bro. Like, you've worked hard to get to where you want to be in life, and you're throwing it all away because you want to be put on this persona of who you are. You know what I mean? Like,
and you're giving yourself a horrible name. I don't know that Ja came out the gutter. I mean, there's all this 8 Mile stuff coming up on him now. Have you seen all these memes and videos on Instagram and on Twitter about like comparing him to old boy from 8 Mile? What's his name?
Cheddar Bob?
No, the dude that Pop Smoke.
Oh,
and so he's got, his name's Clarence or his name's Tamaris, and he lives at home with both parents, and so they're clowning him, man, because he seems to come from a solid background in terms of having his family there, having the support that he needs to have, and I don't know what his social life was like back in the day, in his hometown or whatever, if he comes from from the streets, and sometimes people, they chase that limelight, that clout, and want to be something that they're really not, and they want to put out this image, and I just don't get it, man. Like, you're about to start next year. I think he starts like a $200 million contract. He's one of the bright stars of the NBA, like potentially the future of the NBA. One of the closest things I've seen to AI since AI. And he's thrown it all away, like you said, trying to follow this path or lead down this path of street life, bro, of being that dude and wanting to be King Von. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and not to mention, it's completely selfish, bro. Like, your team right now, right? It's a team sport at the end of the day, and your team is number 2 in the Western Conference in the heat of things, vying for a good spot in the playoffs, and you go and do something stupid like this right before they have to play the Clippers and the Lakers, and now you're suspended for those 2 games. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, if you lose to both those teams, that's very impactful in your playoff push. Those are 2 Western Conference teams, the Clippers being one that's right on that tail and ready to compete, and really, if you lose to the Lakers at this point, like, that's bad, bro. Like,
the number 2 seed's an important seed, bro. I think in the Western Conference, but especially as stacked as the Western Conference is, it keeps you away from playing a really hot playing game team, or getting caught up in like a number 3 or number 6 seed, right? The way they're falling, they're only a game and a half up on Sacramento for the 2 seed. It looks like they're 4 games up on Phoenix for the 4 seed, and then 5 up on Golden State and 6 up on Dallas to round out the 6. So, I see 2 games going to LA. They lose to the Clippers. They lose to the Lakers. Now they're sliding down further. Now you're playing for a 4, 5, or 6 seed. Who knows how long Morant's actually going to be out? If it's going to be longer than the 2 games. Last year they did really well when John Morant was hurt and injured, and they played very well and they maintained their standing. I don't know that are they going to play the same well, it being a distraction, knowing that he's not hurt, knowing that he's just out here doing dumb shit? Hopefully for them, that team can keep it together. But that's a lot of distraction. That's a lot of noise going around the team to kind of, at some point you get tired of answering them questions.
Well, yeah, and the 2 games that he's out, bro, like you said it earlier, the Clippers are kind of, trying to figure things out themselves, are kind of reeling a little bit, and the Lakers just lost LeBron.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? These are 2 teams that are arguably still in the hunt themselves. Essentially, number 7 seed is the Clippers, and the Lakers are sitting at number 11 outside looking in still.
Yeah.
But it's still enough time to where teams can, win a few games and make a little stretch and get themselves back in that hunt. And those are 2 teams that you don't want to lose to right now, because they have a reason to win.
And that's 2 teams that you can put distance between yourself and them in the standings and further solidify your spot and where you're at, and not to have your best player. And I still think Memphis has a good shot against the Lakers without John Morant, and I still think they have a really good shot against the Clippers, especially the way the Clippers are playing without John Morant right now, right? But that's an opportunity to put some distance between yourself and the teams that are below you in the standings, and you don't have your best player to do that. You don't have your best shot to do that, which means it's not as likely as it was before. And you gotta keep this in mind as you come down into March and April. These wins and losses become a little bit bigger. They become a little bit more important. There's less games. There's just over 20 games left in the season to play. So, you get to a point where you can't afford this kind of stuff, and it's kind of, it's and we were talking about before we started. We're wondering, is this just the beginning? Because back in, I think, January. The NBA investigated John Morant and his buddies because following a game between the Pacers, the Pacers alleged that members of John Morant's crew, aggressively confronted members of the Pacers traveling party near the team's bus outside the stadium, and led to someone in a slow-moving SUV, which Morant was riding in, trained a red laser on them. Now, they sell laser pointers and things like that, so, it could have been just a laser pointer.
Yeah.
But I also know lasers come on pistols. And you got somebody that's trying to live that lifestyle and act hard, and then you've got lasers being pointed. And so NBA, investigated, Pacer security investigated, and it led to one of John Morant's buddies being banned from the stadium for a year. So there's something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And then
and it comes down to like the whole Brittany Griner thing, right? Like, you are who you are, so you need to put yourself in certain situations and not be doing certain things. Allegedly, whatever happened, we're not going to speak on what happened too much, but, you're in a situation, you're an NBA star, bro, and you're doing these childish teenage games that are going to get you in the hot seat. And now, you got one thing after another, and it's almost a domino effect. And, hopefully him being suspended is is for him the straw that broke the camel's back, and he's gonna realize like, look, I'm BSing out here. I got to get my shit together because I can't be doing this. I'm going to lose everything that I've worked for. You know what I mean? Everybody that looks up to me, that counts on me, there's no longer going to be any of that if I continue to be this immature athlete out here, you know, not setting the right example. So hopefully he gets that figured out, man. Because
you have the riding an SUV with the laser trained with which one staff member of the Pacers believed to be attached to a gun. You've got the stuff that he did early Saturday morning, flashing the gun in the club, and this is on the heels of being sued, him and his associate being sued by a teenager for allegedly beating up that 17-year-old teenager at a game at his house. And then reportedly flashing a gun after.
Yeah, man, it's an ugly spiral that is on right now, and again, I brought up a few names earlier, and I hope that he can, you know, figure it out before he's another one of those athletes that we talk about, you know, could have been the next AI, you know, could have did this, could have done that, could have been the next big star in the NBA, but instead, you know, he's changing in his uniform for a different uniform because he's doing stupid shit.
In these instances with the guns, I mean, I know I'm gonna get pushback from certain people that I know that listen to the show. And it's like, well, he has a right to own that gun, this and that. And you're right, he does have a right to own that gun, but he also has a responsibility to own that gun responsibly and legally, and to do it the right way. And flashing guns at opposite teams and beating up kids and being in the club with a gun, that's not the responsible way to do things. And you're just, not only are you giving a bad example for these young kids that look up to you and want to follow you and want to be like you're leading them astray, but you're also giving light to other people talking about, yo, you shouldn't be doing stupid shit like that. Let's get rid of it all. You know?
Yeah, that's why it's harder for people who do have firearms responsibly, you know what I mean? Because then you're going to have people coming and attacking, trying to take everybody's firearms away because one person doesn't know how to act responsibly, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you're right, man.
Especially like when it's a superstar. Like when a superstar does some stupid shit, everybody's like, oh my God, he has so much influence on people, and, which is true. They do. They have a lot of influence on people, and they influence a lot of kids and a lot of older folk. You know, a lot of people look up to these guys. And so I'm not denying that part of it. It's just frustrating, man. Like, you know, you've made it. You've made it, dude.
Yeah.
You got a $200 million contract that kicks in next year. You've made it.
Yeah.
Get out the gutter and stop doing stupid shit. Start living your life like you've made it.
Yeah, hey, before we get to this next topic, though, and get off this drama stuff, let's talk a little bit more about the playoffs. I want to talk about the Eastern Conference a little bit. We didn't touch too much on that. But, man, that's a lot tighter of a race. You know, you got the Bucks and the Celtics.
Yeah.
They're going at it right now for that number one seed, bro. The Celtics right now are a half game behind. Then you got the 76ers, who are probably going to make a push with their additions.
Well,
you know
the 76ers
like,
just snapped the Bucks. I think the Bucks had like a 14-game winning streak or something like that, and the 76ers just snapped it.
Exactly.
So,
like the Eastern Conference, you know, owes just as much conversation because the Eastern Conference has a lot of talent in it. When you look at the top 7 teams, bro, majority of those teams at any given time could get hot and do some things. Even the Knicks, who have been like,
yo, I'm impressed with what the Nets have done, considering they traded away they traded away Kyrie, they traded away KD, and they're still holding it down. I mean, you know, they may fall into that play-in. You know, the Heat, I can see the Heat doing, you know, being veteran team coming on down the stretch and overtaking that 6th spot. Milwaukee's legit.
Yeah,
the Greek freak, dude, Giannis, dude, he's and so I was thinking about this yesterday because everyone wants to argue Embiid, Jokic. You know, my cousin does. I do. We all do.
Yeah, no one ever gives Giannis.
But Giannis, bro, Giannis is probably in my opinion, over the last 5 years, is probably the best player in the NBA.
By far.
And, you know, it's hard for me to say that about Nikola because I think right now he's the best player this year. He's the best player. But what Giannis has done over the last 5 years, Giannis got two MVPs in a ring over the last 5 years.
Yeah,
and that's hard to top. And plus, he plays a position. I mean, he can play the 5 or the 4, and he scores like a 3, moves like a 2.
Yeah.
Like, he's just an athletic freak, man.
The whole family is ridiculous. Really.
Yeah.
Have you seen? I think we talked about this a while ago when we brought up Giannis. But did you ever watch Rise?
No, I've been meaning to though, because you did tell me about that.
Yeah, you should go check it out.
Because it's like
man.
a documentary of the whole fam, right?
Yeah, it's a good show. I think it's on Disney Plus or whatever, but it's a really good show. Giannis, he's a freak for sure.
And we didn't even mention like the Celtics are the defending Eastern Conference champions.
Nope.
They've been steadily just playing the same, consistent level of basketball over the last freaking 3 or 4 months, and so yeah, I think you're right. The East is going to be tough. There's nothing like that gauntlet in the West, even though it doesn't seem as daunting as it is in years past. You're starting to see them same old starting to raise their head again and be like, yo, you're going to have to go through us too. The thing that scares me, right, the Nuggets going to be the 1 seed. They're going to play the number 8 seed, right?
Yeah.
It could be Utah. It could be New Orleans at this point.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me is that next round. If Phoenix and Golden State are 4-5. So you're going to get one of them teams bounced.
Yeah.
That's good. The
But
bad
who you
part
gotta
is you're
see?
going to have to see
Yeah.
a hot team who bounced a really good team. They're going to have to be trout. But I wouldn't have it any other way for the Nuggets, though.
So who would you rather see?
Phoenix.
You would rather see Phoenix because
I
they
think
still
so.
got to figure it out.
They still got to gel. Ayton does create some problems for Jokic down low. I think Golden State, the way they move the ball, the way they shoot, they exposed our perimeter defense last year, and I don't necessarily want to see that again. So I would rather have Phoenix do that. I think Michael Porter Jr. is a much better basketball player this year.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 months, the way he's been playing is phenomenal. He's been more efficient. He's been attacking the basket. I think we stand a good chance against either team this year, to be honest with you.
We just need the Warriors to slide a little bit.
I just
them out of there.
Dude, we talked about it earlier. There's something about that championship pedigree.
Yeah.
There's something about 4 or 5 rings sitting on your bench, having done this before, having gone through it before. Draymond Green poses a bunch of problems down low. It's not going to be easy regardless of who the Nuggets play. Let's be real. It's not going to be easy. But I think this year this team seems poised to do something special. And honestly, if they don't, then it starts raising questions about who's leading the show and who's running the program. Mike Malone, I like Mike Malone a lot, and I hope that doesn't come up. But, you're going to get those questions if they can't get through to at least the Western Conference Finals. They should, the way they've played this year and the level that Jokic has played at this year, they should make it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
but
especially if they clinch the number 1 seed and have that home.
they've had the best home
court.
court all year long too, bro. I think they've only got 4 losses at home.
What are your thoughts on the play-in tournament aspect of the NBA? Like, are you a fan or are you not?
It was the way to get the Lakers into the NBA playoffs back in the bubble.
Hey,
Shout out to my
there you
boy
go.
Antonio. That's definitely a theory of his, and I can't say it's wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
go
they
straight for it.
They won the title that year in the bubble, and they wouldn't have been there if it had not been for the play-in structure of the NBA playoffs. I'm mixed about it because if you look at 9 and 10 right now in the Western Conference, they're sub 500 teams. If you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at 9 and 10, they're sub 500 teams. Like, in my opinion, man, if you can't win half of your games, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anything can happen on any given night. And so, Toronto, Washington, they'll kind of, 9 and 10, they'll wash each other out in that first game, and then they play the loser of the 7-8 game, right? Well, who's to say that something wild doesn't happen in that game and they make it in, And I don't know, man. I just feel it kind of undercuts a season's long work, but I also get it in terms of not wanting teams to tank. You give teams like these sub 500 teams, you give them something to play for so they don't just go into the tank right away and start losing games on purpose.
Yeah, but, even if they do win, being that the Nuggets have that current number 1 seed, it would be nice to play a subpar team first round of the playoffs.
I'm with playing any one of those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Minnesota, the Clippers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. there's not a team on there that scares me. I think we've won something like 12 of the last like 14 or something like that against the Clippers. Something ridiculous. Since we were down 3-1 in the playoffs to them, we've been kicking their ass. So I'm not worried about them, man. To be honest with you, they got Paul George on that team that can't win in the playoffs, and Russell Westbrook, who big question mark. So I don't worry about them so much, but. Yeah, I want a dog in that first round.
Yeah.
Just so that we can be battle tested and ready and awake. Because I know when we get to that 4 or 5 matchup, whoever wins that one, I know when we get there, it's gonna be some battles. Because even even if Dallas moves up into that 4 or 5, like the teams you got from 1 to 6 are solid teams. Sacramento's kind of the only team I'm not sure about in that bunch of 6. But you still got some solid teams, and you got to do your thing regardless. Once you get there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, but let's not skip past the NBA a little bit. We're talking about playoffs. Let's have some conversation about the MVP, man. I know there was some things said that may have ruffled a bit of feathers here and there. So, what you think about that?
I don't know, man. Kendrick Perkins, you talk about, obviously.
Yeah.
I've never seen Stephen A. Smith come out so adamantly in favor of the Nuggets. I've never seen, so many national media members kind of like, hey, hold on a second. What the hell are you saying? And it's true. I mean, Kendrick came out and was just, saying that Jokic was stat padding, and just ever since they found out that he was hovering around 9 assists, that, they start shooting the ball crazy and trying to. And I'm like, yeah.
Trying to win? Like, trying to win? Are you kidding me? It's the freaking NBA. Like, we don't go out there to just try to lose games. And part of winning basketball games is moving the ball around, ball movement, scoring the basket, penetrating, rebounding. That's the game of basketball.
What drives me nuts is he said he's stat padding, but yet his guys around him are nailing the shots that he's assisting on. So is he making his teammates better around him, or is he stat padding?
Yeah,
I think it's the first.
And bro, he isn't one of these high school coaches out there watching his players film, giving them an extra tackle or two just because they were around the ball. Come on, get over yourself, dog. Like, this dude is out there competing, playing basketball. Like, what else are we gonna talk about?
Dude, it got so weird because like he went to a degree where it almost got racial without getting racial. And like it was almost like he's getting this love because he's a white dude. And I'm like, quite the opposite. Like, I feel like he gets attacked in the NBA. Like, let's be real. There's very few respected European, or very few players that were European that got respected. They had to go out there and get that respect, right? Mm-hmm. Nowitzki, now Nikola Doncic, like, I don't see how that argument holds up either, and I just think it was a dumb take by Perkins. He said some wild shit to maybe go viral or something like that. It seems like that's what kind of those shows are all about, like the First Take shows and things like that. It's like, how can I say something super outlandish to get people like, tweeting about it or posting on Instagram about it, because, then you're going to have the sound clip of it and all that. I think it's just stupid. I think it's dumb at this point. I think
he's a bona fide hater. Like, come on, bro. You're just out there hating for no apparent reason, just to say some old stupid shit. You make yourself look stupid when you say something like that. Like, that's a bona fide hater, bro. There's no other way to put it, but you're a hater.
Did you see what Mike Malone said about it? He was like, I think he said something to the effect of like, maybe they're just tired of seeing this awkward, not your typical, clumsy basketball player whoop their ass every day.
Yeah, that's what it is, bro. He's out there just doing his thing. Let that man live. And in all honesty, like, if he gets another MVP, then so be it. He deserves it. But you're just hating and honestly pushing and propelling him more to getting that. Instead of hating, you should be focusing on trying to pick up the other dudes that are still contesting for the MVP, because there's still a race. Yep. Like, let's keep it real. There's still a race and anything can still happen. But instead of picking up some of the other candidates, you're just trying to tear down one man. Like, that's hatred, bro.
So in their matchup that they beat the Clippers in overtime, Jokic had 40 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, shooting 12 for 21, right? After the game, Malone said, if you're looking for a super athlete to win MVP, he's not your candidate. If you're looking for a great player that impacts winning in every possible way and whose team is the first place in the Western Conference, then he's your man.
And that's exactly what MVP is.
Dude, it is. You want a guy that changes your game, changes the game, raises all boats, right? Gets all your guys on the same page. I mean, dude, what else? What more you want? And that's no knock on Embiid, and that's no knock on Giannis, because honestly, both them guys are super deserving. They're really deserving of MVP.
And let's keep it real. It's MVP. It's not MVS. It's not most valuable superstar, not most valuable scorer. It's the most valuable player who brings the most value to their team in this team sport setting. And in my opinion, and I said it before when we discussed this, two of the guys, in my opinion, who have the most value to their team is Jokic and Luka, in my opinion.
You know, and Kendrick went down this path where you know, he said a lot of dumb things about Jokic and about not being the MVP. But what he didn't mention is the fact that, you know, he's doing all this on an amazing level never seen before. Mm-hmm. You know, he talks about they talked about the Nuggets padding Jokic's stats and whatnot, and that's cool. Whatever, you can talk about that, but they also talked about the triple double being watered down. And I'm like, wait a minute, though. Yeah, you know, I get what Westbrook did, and Westbrook was like snatching rebounds from his teammates and was doing all this crazy stuff to try to make sure he got his triple-double. Mm-hmm. There has never, I repeat, never been a center to win the have a triple-double for the season, to average a triple-double for the season. Yeah. He's already got the most triple-doubles from any center in NBA history. Like, he's like 5 away from LeBron and like 6 away from Jason Kidd. Like, dude, it's ridiculous what he does on a night in, night out basis, and to rob him of that and to say that he's stat padding or he's undeserving of three-peating because he hasn't won a championship.
Yeah,
that's just bad journalism.
Yeah, man, and I'm getting over the whole. You know, we have to talk about something being in media, bro, but I am getting over the fact that whenever anybody is being successful in a sport, instead of complimenting that player, you know, we take it personal and we choose to hate. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, LeBron gets it, Tom Brady got it. You know what I mean? And now the Joker's getting it, and it's just unfair, man. Like, give him his credit when his credit's due.
Appreciate greatness.
Yeah, like, give the flowers when they're here to smell them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's getting overwhelming a little bit, you know.
Well, then I think it taints your historical view on them players. Like, if you have a salty taste in your mouth about a player 10 years down the road when you're comparing them to the new age of players, you're like, oh, that guy sucked. Or, you know, how many people are going to be like, oh, this guy was way better than LeBron James? Like, no, and it's not true, you know. So I agree with what you're saying on that, bro. Before we move on, let me give a big shout out to Icon Sales and Icon Boxing. If you listened to the last episode, you heard Mario Carrillo on here talking about his amazing company in Icon Sales, located here in Westminster off of 74th and Federal. Got quality furniture, PS5s, Apple, anything you need, man, to furnish your house, or the TVs to hang on your wall, whatever you're trying to do, trying to watch the NCAA tournament coming up and you need a new TV, man, make sure you hit up Icon. You're trying to get the bedroom right, you know, matching sets and all that good stuff, hit up Icon Sales, man. They got something for you over there. They service the entire state. They'll do what they got to do to get your product in your truck, and they'll deliver it if they have to. Hit up Icon Sales. Make sure you visit them. Also, Icon Boxing. Great program. They're doing a lot of great things. Golden Gloves starting up this week. They're going to have some fighters at Golden Gloves fighting. But if you're somebody that just wants to get in shape, wants to work and train, maybe you like boxing, it's a great opportunity. They do adult classes. They do youth classes. Go check them out. Icon Sales and Icon Boxing, 74th Federal in Westminster.
Check them out, man. So, great people, great business.
Dom, we're going to transition into boxing. We're going to transition to some fighting real quick, man.
Okay.
Being that we just come off of that, guess what? It's done. It's official.
Yeah.
Tank and Garcia.
It's going down,
April
man.
22nd. We're not going to get bamboozled. We're not going to get okey doke like we did with Spence and Crawford. The deal is signed.
Showtime pay-per-view.
And boys are fighting.
Yes, sir.
Who do you got?
Ooh, press conference is March 8th and 9th. Just add that out there. Who do I got?
Right now. I know it's going to change.
Bro, I've been on a little bit of a streak. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I mean, we won't talk about your Super Bowl prediction, but
well, we could even talk about the week before that. You know what I mean? Where I've picked the team where everybody thought was not going to win. I rode with the Chiefs 2 weeks in a row. They thought they were going to lose to the Bengals. Then they thought they were going to lose the Super Bowl, and I had to predict that to a T. So I'm going to predict this to a T.
Okay.
I think it's going to be an extremely good fight. Everybody thinks Tank's going to go in there and win. I think Ryan Garcia is going to win by knockout.
Oh. Really?
In the 4th round.
Really?
Mark it right now. March 5th, 9. Oh, wait. Yeah. Right now we're recording March 5th. We're going to release it at a different time. But listen. Hey.
It'll release today, so March 5th.
Mark my words.
Garcia by knockout.
Garcia by knockout in the 4th round.
In the 4th round?
In the 4th round.
Oh, my.
I'm getting specific.
I could see that. And I'm actually not going to disagree with you on who's going to win. As much as I want to take Tank in this fight, I think the momentum is building for Garcia to win this fight. Mm-hmm. I think Tank's got some things going on outside of boxing that could pose as a distraction in his training and everything else. I don't know if you've noticed, but he just pled to some charges, I think, in Florida. Yeah. And then he's got some other charges pending against him as well. I think the ones that he just pled to that might give him a little bit of jail time, maybe like a month or something up in the box in May. But, I think with all that going on around, it's hard to be focused and to be laser on. He scored the knockout in his last fight, but he also got touched a little bit more often than usual. And I think, like I mentioned, I think Garcia's got some momentum coming into this fight that can't be argued. And I think this might be the stage for Garcia to win this fight. I'm not going to go as crazy as you and say 4th round knockout. But I won't be surprised to see this fight end early, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Davis getting knocked out.
Yeah, I don't think anybody talks enough about Ryan's power. You know what I mean? Like, dude has some power, bro, and they both do. They're both great fighters. You got Davis at 28-0 with 26 knockouts, and you got Ryan at 23-0 with 19 knockouts. Yep. So these guys are known to put people on the canvas. They're great fighters. They're competitive. These are the best 2 fighters out right now.
Yeah,
this is what boxing is made for.
This is the fights we should be getting.
Yeah, this is exactly what we should be seeing. So it's going to be a great fight. Whoever wins, I'm sure we're all going to be pleased with it. But I'm sticking to my guess, and I'm sticking to a 4th round knockout for Garcia.
I definitely, like you mentioned it, the way these guys both are aggressive and they throw, and they're not afraid to throw, not afraid to get hit, not afraid to brawl.
Someone's getting knocked out.
Someone's getting knocked out, for sure. It reminds me of, remember Mark Henry's out, someone's going to get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's definitely getting knocked out in this one. Dude, I wouldn't be surprised to see both fellas hit the canvas at least once.
That'll be great.
I do think, like I said, I think the distraction is going to be a little much for Tank to overcome, and I see Garcia winning. But as the fight gets closer, we'll definitely dive down a little more into it. The question I have is, does this give hope for a fight like Spence and Crawford? Being that these boys were able to come together, different promotions. Still no hope, huh?
No, I mean, as of right now, bro, I'm done really even entertaining the thought of it, because to me, they've already allowed promotion to get in the way of fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to ever figure it out, because they're still not really even close to being on the same page, in my opinion. And it's a shame because that's the fight everybody wants to see, even more than Tank and Garcia, in all honesty. But I just don't know if I'm ever going to see it, and I'd rather talk about it when it happens instead of continuously giving clout to something that's not going to be there. You know what I mean? But it should happen. It better happen.
So, a question then. Regardless of how this one ends, do you envision maybe, I don't know, maybe Spence or Crawford fighting the winner out of this fight? Meeting up at a catch weight, doing something like that? I mean, they're not far off in terms of weight class. I mean, you know, they're all right there. Is that something that maybe might be able to get past through a little bit easier than like a Spence Crawford? Maybe, you know, Spence coming to fighting the winner of this fight, or you know what I mean? Like,
no, I do think this fight puts pressure on Spence and Crawford, right? Like, this is the example. Like, they're doing it, so we have to do it. Like, they're gonna make a lot of money, so we're gonna want to make a lot of money and put on a great show for people. And I know Garcia said this is the only fight and there won't be a rematch, but I'm kind of hoping he goes back on that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
You know what I mean? Because I think honestly, if he wins, wouldn't he be obligated to give Davis a rematch? And if he loses, don't you want that get back?
I just don't get why you would want to like close the door on that right away.
I mean, what if Garcia loses by decision and he feels he won?
Right.
You're not going to want to get that back? Yes, you are, bro. Like, I hope he changes his mind on that, because I think the fight number 2 is going to just be, if not more anticipated, it's going to be just as anticipated as the first one. And I hope that Garcia changes his mind in that aspect. But I do think that this is putting the pressure on Spence and Croft to say, we got to get it done.
You know, a great matchup for either one of these fellas. You know, the winner of this matchup between Davis and Garcia. You know, you've got Haney sitting there atop of the lightweight division. You've got Lomachenko there. You know, I think either it sets up for some good fights down the road. So I can see why Garcia is like, yo, we're not doing a rematch. Maybe he's got bigger, you know, ambitions for a bigger fight coming up. You know, I don't understand why he would say no rematch. I just kind of, why close your door to some money? You know, what is boxing famous for? Yeah. Trilogies, dude. Like, especially if this fight's a banger, you know, and someone goes out on their ass. Like, man, you can't close the door on that kind of money, because it's just too much opportunity to make something happen. And speaking of closing doors, do you think a door was slammed shut on Jake Paul's boxing career?
You know, I don't know, man. I mean, he is 0-1 against legitimate boxers, right? He's won all the other fights that he's fought, but against a real boxer, an actual boxer, he's 0-1.
Fury touched him up too.
And Fury controlled the fight.
Yeah,
you know, and
he got dropped at the end there, but
I think, that shows how much he controlled it, right?
Yeah,
he caught that punch, got knocked down, and still won the fight.
Yeah.
That means he was points ahead.
Yeah. And it didn't look like the punch hurt him. It didn't look like it caught him off guard. It was just
one of those backup.
Yeah, you see that a lot in boxing.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of people are going to try to run Jake Paul into the mud on this one, and say, you know, he shouldn't be around no more. This is proof that he's not a fighter and this and that. But he earned the respect of his opponent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's already talks about a rematch between them. I know the other Paul came out and said he wants to fight Fury now, but you know, I think Jake Paul is going to get his rematch, and I think it's about time that there's a little bit of respect put on his name, especially if his opponent, the guy he was in the ring with, you know, give him the respect.
Well, I think that's the frustrating part. I think people were just sitting here waiting for this moment, waiting for Jake Paul to lose. It's what they used to do with Floyd, waiting for Floyd to lose. And I think it's unfair. You know, I do think Jake Paul has earned the respect of some of the folks in the community. It seemed like on social media, in his loss, he took a lot of people were like, oh, I mean, I've seen it. Oh, Jake Paul's really a fighter. Jake Paul's really a boxer.
Yeah,
I think he did gain some respect in that aspect. I think maybe he should continue targeting boxers.
Yeah,
you know, even if they're not like highly ranked right now, you know, and I get the idea of wanting to put a good card together so you can you can sell it. But I think Jake Paul has done enough in terms of his brand to get that pay-per-view sold. You know what I mean? And so maybe this isn't the end. Maybe this is the beginning of a new path on how to get there. I know they were talking about wanting to run it back again. And you mentioned Logan.
Yeah.
I think Logan just need to go ahead and go do WrestleMania and get in that thing, because that seems like that's his light.
He's a star there, I think. You know, and I think this might be a crossroad for Jake Paul, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the guy who's booking all the big fights, making all the money? You know, do you want to be a promoter?
Right.
Or do you want to be a fighter? And this is those crossroads for him, because right now you can take that left and be the promoter,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying, and go chase your bag, because you've been doing a great job at that.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you can say, you know what, I got my foot in the door now with this fight, even though it was a loss, and now I'm going to humble myself a little bit and fight legitimate fighters that I could compete with and climb the ranks in boxing, because that's what I want to do.
And earn that respect even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I think he's at a crossroad for sure. I seen some other things interesting while looking at this as far as boxing. Pacquiao's back in training. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, for real?
But but flowers, man. Flowers being given. Mike Tyson, you know, he's always getting compared to George Foreman. Mm-hmm. Who's the hardest hitter? Who's the hardest puncher? And Tyson came out and gave his flowers to George Foreman, right? Tyson said that George Foreman is the heaviest puncher. I could never match somebody's power who was that big.
Yeah.
Like, that dude's just massive, bro. Like, I'm who I am. I'm Mike Tyson. I'm Iron Mike.
Yep.
I punch hard.
Yep.
But I could never match the overall punch power of a George Foreman.
Yeah, you think Foreman's punch power is probably on a level of like a 9 or 10 out of, you know, and Tyson's is probably like a 7 or 8. But you know what Tyson had that Foreman never had is just that snap.
Yep.
That snap firecracker.
Yep, that speed.
You know, it's funny that you bring up Tyson. I seen this picture. They put a side-by-side picture of Muhammad Ali at 13 years old and Mike Tyson at 13 years old. And Muhammad Ali looked like a kid. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, you know, he got some definition, he's cut, but he looks like a kid. Mike Tyson looked like a goddamn adult, dude. Yeah. Mike Tyson looked like he hated life for like 15 years already in that picture, bro. like he looked like a grown man, dude. And then you go back and watch his fights, you know, through amateurs and through his early years as a pro, and he's a kid fighting these grown men, dude.
Yeah,
so.
Hey, that's funny because we were at the wrestling tournament this weekend, and in wrestling, sometimes, you know, if there's nobody in your bracket, you may be bumped to a different weight class and things like that. So shout out to Ice, Coach Zach's son, man. But he was bumped up to a heavier bracket, and these boys were heavy, bro.
Oh yeah,
and big. And there was one kid who was just solid. A solid little Mike Tyson-esque looking wall jumper. And he took care of business on Ice pretty convincingly, right? But Ice, you know, he took it like a champ. He was in there banging, but afterwards he was like, oh, that dude looked like he was about to jump in his car and drive himself home type grown. And so that was just funny that you brought up Mike Tyson looking grown at 13, because this kid definitely was that image when you were saying that.
I remember we played Grand Junction Central my freshman year in high school. And I remember the running joke from that game being, how old are these motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Because they came out more burly than me, bro. They just look like grown-ass men on the football field. And, you know, you just sometimes you wonder, it's like, good God, man, what the hell's going on here?
They've been feeding you. Hey, you know, we talked a little bit about UFC 285.
Yo.
I know I want to touch back on that before we move on to the next topic that's going to have me wanting to fight some people. But, you know, like I said, I can't speak too much on it, man. I was asleep before anything even got popping. I was looking forward to the John Jones fight and the ladies fight, the co-main and the main event. I was really looking forward to both of those, and woke up to some highlights. And, you know, I was pretty impressed with what I seen. And it's actually the outcome that I was hoping for in both fights. So, and I'll let you touch base on it.
I definitely stood up and watched it. I definitely stood up and watched it.
Since you watched it.
Amazing fights, bro. They were the whole card was pretty good. Definitely some really, really, really good fights. I think what happened with the ladies and Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko was kind of amazing. Grasso came out the aggressor in the first round, and I thought took the first round pretty handedly. Shevchenko made the adjustments and started just taking her to the ground every time she'd come in aggressive. She'd come in super aggressive with some punches, and Shevchenko would just boom take her to the ground. And kudos to Grasso because it looked rough. There was a couple of times where Shevchenko got her to the ground, about ready to put her in a crucifix, and she worked her way out of it. She didn't have very good takedown defense, but when she did get taken down, she didn't allow Shevchenko to control her on the ground as much.
Yeah.
And she was able to break free probably a little bit sooner than Shevchenko would have wanted. That first round, I think, went to Shevchenko, and then I think the next 2 rounds were working in her favor. And, fourth round starts. Shevchenko does this. I don't know if you've watched her fight. She does a lot of spinning punches, spinning kicks, and she lands them a lot. She's dangerous with them, spinning elbows. And she went to go do this like spinning kick on Grasso and missed and kind of like throw herself right into Grasso's torso. And Grasso immediately just jumped on her back, sunk the double hooks in the legs, and got that choke. And it was on her chin. It wasn't even under her chin. And like she just started squeezing, bro. And it was like like watching a python.
Did you see the picture of afterwards, the still pictures?
Yeah, like the white.
So Vita, she sent me the picture just now. And you can see the white, like if you're pressing somebody's skin and it leaves that white impression.
Yes.
You can see the white impression on her chin, and then everything above that was
Just
about
red.
as red as a tomato, bro. So she was squeezing.
Dude, so she was squeezing for a good 10, 15 seconds, like just trying to work it. And finally she worked it good enough. And you could see Shevchenko, she was so, like, she was pissed in the way she tapped. She, like, tapped real hard on the leg, like, yeah, I quit.
Yeah.
And, she knew she screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, she knew she left herself vulnerable, and then you could just see the disgust in her face when she had to tap, because I think she would have went night-night if she wouldn't have tapped. Eventually, she would have went night-night, because just the way that Grasso had that thing locked in there. And shout out to Grasso. She's the 3rd Mexican-born fighter to win a title, but
dope.
the first Mexican-born woman to win a title.
Hey, shout out to that.
Complete upset, shocked the world. I think she was like a 25-1 underdog to win by submission. It was just a real surprise, and it was a great fight. In my opinion, probably fight of the night. The fight before that with Neal and Rachmaninoff probably could have went fight of the night. That was a really good fight, but it was just, it's that opportunity. It's like when God, why am I dripping on his name now? Anyway, it's like one of the moments where you're not expecting this person's down against it last round, or it wasn't the last round, but towards the end of the fight, and she just pulled it out.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the fight stats right now, bro, and she was losing the fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like,
she won that first round and then was getting dominated.
167 of 228 strikes landed for Shevchenko, 73.2%, while Grasso was at 59%. Significant strikes. Grasso's at 32.6%. Shevchenko was at 60%. Takedowns, 66.7% for Shevchenko. 0% effective for Grasso.
Yeah.
And, that speaks volumes to you're never out of it. You know what I mean? You're always in the thick of it. If you stay determined and composed during those tough times in a fight, you can go from losing the fight to winning the fight in a split second, and that's what happens.
Well, and the fight that it reminded me of was that Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, where Edwards is getting dominated, gets to the last round and just lands a kick and it puts him out, right? That's the one I blanked on right there, and that's exactly what it reminded me of, because they got to the 4th round. To have the confidence that Grasso had to continue to fight like she was fighting, like she was still in it, is amazing, because sometimes when you're getting dominated like that, you kind of, and there were some small things she could take, like she was able to get up off the ground a couple of times when she was taken down, but her takedown defense was horrible. Like it just wasn't good, and she was starting to get outclassed by Shevchenko, and to find that other switch and all of a sudden find yourself winning the fight was just amazing.
Yeah, and speaking, I'm glad you brought that fight up because UFC
They running it
286
back
has
2
just
weeks.
been announced, and Leon Edwards and Usman running it back March 18th.
Yeah.
So it's going down. Justin Gaethje's on that.
The Gaethje,
Gaethje.
the UFC, the UFC, dude. The UFC is just bringing up these fights back to back to back to back. It's crazy.
And they're never like lackluster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're always good fights. You may not even, some people, if you're not familiar, you may not know the name, but if you turn it on and you watch it, it's excitement packed, bro. Like the UFC brings that excitement that everybody wants to see.
And the main event, like if you blinked, you missed it. Like, John Bones Jones, after 3 years, came
back
in and made it look like, dude, it's easy as an understatement. How easy he made it look. Like he caught Cyril Gane against the cage and started trying to work that choke. And I don't even think he had it locked in the right way, dude. But he put so much pressure on that dude's throat and neck that he tapped. And I mean, like, 2 minutes and 4 seconds of the first round. Not even a full 3 minutes into the fight, and it was done.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a good fight. Good to see Jones back. He wants Stipe Miocic, so we'll see if he gets the greatest heavyweight of all time. He looked. I was telling you beforehand. He looked like the neighborhood uncle. He had he was thick. He wasn't like cut. You know what I mean? He had that little belly. He looked like he had shoulders and arms, but not too much. And he came in there and was John Bones Jones. He was the GOAT. He was the best of all time at doing this, and he flexed that, bro. It was such a great fight.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And shout out to him for making that comeback. And everybody never wants to fight that uncle.
Yeah.
That uncle. I seen that uncle leave some motherfucker leaking. So you better be careful playing with that uncle.
Yo,
hey, it's been
man,
great.
you mentioned the Usman fight coming up, and we'll preview that when that comes. But I want to get to fighting with you on some things.
Okay.
And I know you're feisty about this list. We've kind of went over it a little bit before we started recording, and we're like, well, how the hell is this person here and this person that? This is kind of a little bit old in the news cycle. You know how things work. But a couple weeks ago, Billboard put out a list of the best rappers of all time, and it had the top 50 rappers listed. We can go through the list. I'll break down the top 20 just to go through it quickly. Starting from 20, you got Big Daddy Kane. Then 19, Missy Elliott. 18, Ice Cube. 17 is 50 Cent. 16, Scarface. 15, J. Cole. 14, LL Cool J. 13, Rakim. 12, Andre 3000. 11, Kanye West. 10, Nicki Minaj. 9, Snoop Dogg. 8, Drake. 7, Lil Wayne. 6, Notorious B.I.G. 5, Eminem. 4, Tupac. 3, Nas. 2, Kendrick. 1, Jay-Z. How you feel about this list, dog?
I just don't understand how they're grading this on. Like, what is it? Is it strictly lyrics that we're talking about? Because if it's strictly lyrics, then why is J. Cole so low?
Yeah, why was Common so low?
Why was Kanye?
Jada's like 40? I think Jadakiss is like 40 something, bro.
Like you got Kanye barely cracking the top 10.
Yeah,
You got Biggie outside of the top 5.
So it says in early 2003, Billboard Vibe is ranking the top 50 rappers of all time as part of our salute to this year's golden anniversary of hip hop. The genre dates back to 1953 when DJ Kool Herc first set up his 2 turntables to rock parties in the Bronx. The rollout began January 11th. That revealed rappers ranked 50 to 41. As in determining these rankings, the Billboard and Vibe editorial teams opted first to limit the rap arena to North America. So you won't see like Slick Rick. Who was from, he was a British rapper. Said we also opted not to include significant contributions of reggaeton, dancehall MCs on this list just to keep our pool of nominees a little more focused. From there, the teams took into account the following criteria, not in any particular order: body of work / achievements, charted singles, albums, gold, platinum certifications, cultural impact / influence, how the artist's work fostered the genre's evolution, longevity, years on the mic, and then lyrics, storytelling skills, and flow, vocal prowess. As it is well known, GOAT and similar best lists always drew the share of criticism and praise from the industry, pundits, and public alike. So it took a lot of deliberation and deep discussion and reasons why we believe what we believe as far as the top 50.
Man, and you only mentioned the top 20 earlier, Coach, and I was just scrolling through, and looked at the list, and I'm highly upset, especially when I hear the criteria. They got Jadakiss at 46, bro. Get out of here with that. Jadakiss is probably everything that they mentioned in their criteria. He's top of every single one of those criterias, bro. Like, he should be in the top 10 of this list, in my opinion, hands down. Like,
they got, they did give some homage to cats that most young folks won't know, and I barely know, but I learned based off of like my love for hip hop. But like Melly Mel, he made the list, which is dope. He came up with Grandmaster Flash back in the '80s and stuff. MC Light made the list, but it's almost like those were tokens. Jadakiss 46 is one of the most
T.I.
ridiculous.
over Jadakiss?
Yes. How's Ice-T over Jadakiss?
Exactly.
Ice-T's dope, but I mean, I don't think he's over Jadakiss. They put Bun B down in the 40s at 43, Redman at 42. Like,
Method Man's at 25.
Yeah, dude. E40 at 41. Like, I get it. Like, some of these guys don't have the mainstream success that, say, Nicki Minaj or Drake have. You pointed one out to me, and it blew my mind. They have Gucci Mane ranked over Ludacris?
Yeah.
Now, that's ludicrous.
That is ludicrous. Man, they got KRS-One down low, like 24, bro. Like, I mean,
you can't talk impact to hip hop and not mention KRS.
You can't.
Mos Def at 36. You can't talk hip hop and have Mos Def at 36. Like, it's wild, man.
How do you and riddle me this? How do you rank Missy Elliott at 19, but you have Queen Latifah at 40,
42 or something like that? 44? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either, man. Like 44.
44.
And I get Missy sold more records probably, right? But Queen Latifah crossed over into acting. Like, she did a lot of different stuff that hip hop brought to her.
And she was impactful, influential, what her message she was spreading. But yeah, Missy sold a lot, but where's Kim?
You know what blows my mind? This is what just blows my mind. Dr. Dre's number 40. And you think about Dr. Dre, you think about NWA, you think about Snoop Dogg, you think about Death Row Records, you think about, Aftermath, you think about Eminem, you think about 50 Cent. These guys are all on that top 10 list, top 15 list, and you wouldn't known about them if it wasn't Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? And I get it, as a rapper, maybe he's not the most lyricist, and he didn't write a lot of his lyrics. A lot of times, he had other folks write for him. But the impact, if you're talking about impact on the game, you're talking about impact on the culture, how can you have any more big impact than Dr. Dre has had, especially in the 90s, man, in the golden era of hip hop? It's hard to argue there's been more people that have had bigger influence than Dr. Dre. And to have people like Busta Rhymes, T.I., Lil' Kim, in front of them, in front of Dre, it makes it hard for me, man.
I think this Billboard is starting to become more biased as we get through some of these lists, man. Like, don't get me wrong, Hove is the greatest, if one of the greatest, if not the greatest. I ain't gonna argue the fact that he's put at number one, right? But sometimes I feel like, because of what he's done in entertainment period, he gets a lot of the love on some of these lists, because
it's big influence.
Yeah, it is a big influence, but you're taking down some people, man, that in my opinion should be higher. Like, I look at the top 3 of this. You got Hove, Kendrick, and Nas, right?
Yeah. And I don't know that that's my top 3 list.
That's not my top 3.
Let me ask you a question. And I'm not going to give you their number, but Big Pun or Redman, who do you think has been more impactful? Who's had a bigger career? Because, like, in terms of longevity, there's no doubt that Redman's been around that's been doing it better and longer for a longer period of time. Pun was dope, but he did die early.
But I found Pun's rhyme book. How much of
are we going to factor Fat Joe?
How much of Fat Joe's career should Pun really have credit for?
Pun / Fat Joe,
and maybe he should be moved up.
Yeah,
because he made that impact on another superstar that much. You know what I mean? Can Redman say that one of the members from the Wu is who they are strictly because of him?
Well, Redman won Wu-Tang though.
Well,
Def Squad.
Death Squad.
But I feel what you're saying. But let me ask you a question though. Has Big Pun ever been considered the best rapper in a single year, like the best rapper alive for that year? Because some would argue Redman when he dropped Muddy Waters was the best rapper at that time.
Yeah. No, listen, I don't want to take anything away from Redman, and I don't want to sound biased towards Pun just because
it's just hard, right?
Because Pun was, I love Pun's music.
Curtis Blow.
But I think for the sake of impact, I think Redman should be above Pun. Yeah, to be honest,
I think so too. And it's not against. I love them both, man. They're both two of my favorite artists.
I love Nas, but I don't think Nas should be in the top 5.
Right.
Nas
not in terms of I don't think he's been culturally as impactful as some of the other artists below him. His lyrics are solid, but I don't think he's had the same success in terms of records.
If this is about impact, then on hip hop, and especially current hip hop, then how come Drake, Wayne, and Kanye West are outside the top 5?
Yeah. J. Cole or Nas?
J. Cole.
I'm close too. I love Nas. Nas is one of my favorite. J. Cole's hard. Lyrically, J. Cole is hard.
He is, bro. He's different. I think they're very similar, kind of, but J. Cole is, to me, J. Cole over Nas.
And then they got Kanye
at 11.
At 11, below Nicki.
How?
Below Drake. Below Wayne.
How many? Let me ask you this. How many people in the top 10 did Kanye produce?
Yeah. I was just about to say, he was the sound of a generation of hip hop, bro. If you count from late 2000 or early 2000 through 2010, how many records this dude produced that were the sound of hip hop during that era?
And quite frankly, Eminem is had a huge impact, and I don't even want to talk about it because I always sound like I'm an Eminem hater. I do, because I love Eminem.
Hate.
No, because I love M. I love M. I think he's dope. He's great, but has he truly made more of an impact than some of these people behind him?
He brought in the suburbs.
That's what gets you to number 5.
No, I'm saying in terms of impact in hip hop, did he not bring hip hop to places where it hadn't been before?
Drake brought us Canada.
Exactly. That's why he belongs on this list pretty highly.
Yeah, but
in terms of just influence, right? He definitely in our mailbag question later on kind of ties into a lot of what we're talking about here in terms of influence. But it is a relative question because I think Eminem brought in the white kid from the burbs that normally got ostracized for listening to hip hop, got turned Vanilla Ice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that can't be denied at all, and I think, like you said, Drake bringing in not only Canada, but Drake brought in ushered in a whole different sound to hip hop, during his era.
Yeah.
When Drake came out and he started, people started doing that thing. So, it's hard to truly define what a person's impact on the game is. Outkast, man. Andre 3000 number 12. Big Boy,
is Big Boy even on the list?
I don't recall seeing him, but I think it was down near the bottom.
I mean, I wouldn't argue with him being lower.
No, because Andre used to do a lot of the but but how does Outkast only have such low representation when they're one of the most influential groups from the South?
Yeah, and so Young Money gets no respect either, really, if you think about it. They got Wayne at 7, Drake at 8, and then Nicki at 10.
Yeah.
Those 3 have made a huge hit. I see why Nicki is far up on this list.
Yeah, she brought in another group too.
She did, but I guess just because she was the first to do it is why she brings in so much impact, because then you talk about Cardi.
The first? What do you mean the first?
Well, the first in this new generation, right?
Yeah, okay.
She's the first Barbie doll rapper, right? She's the Cardi B, Nicki Minaj,
yeah.
Out of all that, John, you got Cardi.
I would argue Kim was.
Yeah, Kim was. To us, Kim
and Foxy Brown?
Kim, they were for sure.
Because if you think about the lady rappers back then, the MC Lights, the Queen Latifahs, they weren't Lauryn Hills. They weren't on this I'm sexy, let me use my sex appeal type stuff to push my lyrics either.
And I'm sure if you talk to Nicki or Cardi or Megan or any of them, they'll give homage to
I think
Ken
so.
and Foxy.
Yeah, I think
so.
so.
You're totally right in that. And speaking of, do you see Foxy?
No,
on this
I
list?
was just thinking that same thing. Like Foxy was dope, man.
You don't see Foxy Brown on this list, man, and J. Cole at 15. Like, I think a lot of people in today's hip hop would argue Kendrick and J. Cole a little bit. There's certain
I think,
people.
in my opinion, like if I think 2's a little high for Kendrick, and I think honestly, in my opinion, you could flip flop Kendrick and J. Cole in this list, and I wouldn't argue with you.
You know why? You know why I think Kendrick is gonna get so much love on this list? Black Panther. That song, bro, was getting on that soundtrack.
That's true.
Is impactful. So I can see why that brings him the light that he's getting and putting him at number 2.
Scarface is on here at number 16, which I felt like that's a good spot for Scarface. He's had some good songs. I think his impact on hip hop has been bigger than maybe his music has been, between the Ghetto Boys, and then his solo career. He was kind of that he was that sound of Houston for the longest time. Before the South really started taking off, it was Scarface. It was Rap a Lot, right? So I think he's well respected up there. LL Cool J, man, like at 14,
let me ask you something.
underrated.
Yeah, let me ask you something.
Yo,
as we go along, right? We've been fans of hip hop for many years, and for many years, at the top of this list is always 2 people.
yep,
And solely 2 people at the top of all these lists. However you want to skin the cat, it's always Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see them gradually dropping on all these lists, right?
Yeah.
Number 4 for Pac, number 6 for Biggie, because time.
yeah.
With the more time that passes, do you think we're going to start to see Biggie and Pac slide outside of the number 10 number when we're talking about impact on hip-hop in general, because there's so many new artists coming in doing so many new things, taking hip-hop to a whole different level,
Them fellas have been dead for almost 25 years now.
and they're still on these lists?
So
How is
that makes
not
me
impact?
that makes me think like no. To answer your question, I don't think they're going to start slipping anytime soon. I think longevity is going to do something for people. But if you got a career like Kanye West and you can't rank them at or above Tupac or Biggie, I'm already like no.
Yeah.
Like if we're factoring all these things in terms of like success with how many platinum plaques you have and gold records or gold plaques you have and whatnot, like music will stand the test of time. The one thing I say about Pac is Pac put out a catalog that was so extensive that even after his death, he was really having albums released. That's what puts him ahead of Biggie, in my opinion. I think we talked about this a little bit. I think Biggie was a better lyricist at times than Tupac was. But I think Pac was a better poet and a little bit better storyteller, and he just put so much out there that it helps him stay on that list ahead of Biggie. And I think longevity is what's going to hurt both of them fellas if they do slip off that list. If they do fall below the top 10, it's going to be because they didn't have the long career that somebody like J. Cole. J. Cole can creep up there above them eventually. I think that's that kind of thing that keeps them. Drake will creep up above them eventually, and it's just because the opportunity for longevity.
Let me ask you this: 50 Cent at 17.
It's a tough one, dude. I think.
Did 50 have an impact? I mean, 50 came out smoking on the game, right? Like 50 had an impact in the fact that he ended careers.
Yeah, but I think the thing that hurts 50 is he really doesn't put out any more albums.
Yeah.
And I think if you're talking about just his music,
But Eminem,
what about Eminem?
he put out 1 or 2 albums in the last couple years, but other than that, it's been a long time.
What's 50's last album?
Was it Curtis?
It's been a while.
I don't even know, honestly.
I would say top 20 is a comfortable spot for 50. I don't quite know. Like I would put. Here we go. Shit. I'd put Ice Cube above 50,
Let's get
and he's
country.
not.
Okay.
I would put. I would probably put Method Man ahead of 50, just lyric wise. I mean, he's done everything 50 has. He's acted. He's hit. Black Thought. I mean, Black Thought fucking roots are on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, dude. Like, how do you get more mainstream than that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the most underrated MCs there is in hip hop. You know, I would argue folks like that. I think 50's actually in a good spot, bro. I think 50's in a good spot because
I would probably put him up a little higher if it was me.
Just a nudge higher. Who do you replace in that top 15 or 16 in place of him?
Replacing him?
Yeah, so if you're gonna bump 50 up, right? He's at what, 16 right now? Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna bump 50 up, who do you take out that spot?
It sucks because I'd bump a few of these guys from 10 to 15 up, so it'd be different. The whole list would be different. I take Rakim out.
You take Rakim out over 50?
Yep.
I think that's fair. I think lyrically, Rakim's dope. I think Impact early on he was big.
Yeah, but
he just kind of fade away, bro.
But the thing is, right, is Impact early on is big, but everybody can owe credit to their predecessors before them. You know what I'm saying? So like, you got newer artists come in who give credit to the Al Al's, the Rakims, the Curtis Blow, all the KRS Ones and all the greats. And then you got newer guys that are coming in now who are giving credits to the Jay-Z, the Nas, the Eminems, the 50s, the Biggies, the Pacs, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to gradually always have somebody's going to have an impact on another artist. You know what I'm saying?
Do you put 50 above Al? Do you put 50 above Scarface?
I'm a real big Scarface fan.
Do you put 50 above J. Cole?
I put J. Cole
higher, obviously.
Way higher.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a conversation.
Got you.
I think Nicki drops back a little bit outside.
I think
the top
I put
10.
50 before Nicki.
I think Snoop, honestly, on impact, bro, Snoop got to probably be up there.
Yeah, Snoop deserves to be up there pretty high.
I'd bring back, Wayne deserves to be up there. Everybody deserves to be up there after that. So I guess other than Nicki, I drop Nicki back. I drop Rakim back. I leave everybody else.
Would you put 50 in front of Nas?
I think no. I think Nas would drop back on this list, but he wouldn't. I think 50.
I think Nas would drop behind Tupac and Biggie on this list.
Me too.
In my opinion. And I love Nas, but I don't
too.
think his music has been as impactful as Tupac's or Biggie's.
Honestly, when I'm looking at the top 15 of this, I don't think I would be mad at this list if number 1, 2, and 3 were Jay, Kendrick, Cole.
Okay.
Because then I would respect the list a little bit more and see, okay, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, man.
It's tough. And this is always a tough thing when you put these lists together. And, DNAsportsdenver.com/askDNA. Let us know what you think. Because last time we had this discussion about rapping, about rappers and best rappers, we had a lot of people hit us up and say, no, y'all smoking, this is this such, or hey, you guys are wrong, this is so-and-so, and why they hate on Eminem, and, Jigga, what, So I think it's definitely one of those things where it's highly contested, and it gets people talking. You think about all the MCs that were left off this list in the top 50, and there's so many people that end up start coming to mind, and you start mentioning some of them, and it's just like, oh, wow, this list is crazy. Like, there's so many different opinions on who can be up there and who shouldn't be up there and who should, and you can go on for days with it, bro.
You know what makes me the maddest about this list?
What's up?
Is that they put E40 at 41 and not 40.
You should have just put him at 40, dog.
You know what I mean? Like, why not just put him at 40?
40 Water at 40.
That would have been epic.
You want to talk about impact. E40, in terms of the lingo, in terms of the talk, there's nobody that had as much impact on as E40 did on that vocab, man. Like, it's one of my favorite things about E40. That's what makes him so creative, in my opinion. And the dude's a tycoon, literally.
Yeah.
So
Rick Ross made number 50. Yeah. He'd be off the list.
Yeah, definitely be off the list. I
like Ross, but he wouldn't be on my top 50. I think there's a lot of people on that list that I take completely off that list, honestly. I don't know if I would. I honestly don't know if I could compile a top 50.
Yeah, it'd be tough because then you start deleting people and put people on.
The last 25 are just going to be people that I respect.
Yeah. So this conversation rolled us into another conversation for the mailbag. And You know, we're talking about all these different artists and the things that they did over the time and how they got to be what they are. Who do you think has had the most impact on the culture of hip hop, and why?
I think two people come to mind. The second person everybody's going to hate me for, I'm going to hear about it. I don't even like the second person I'm going to say, but I'm going to give you a reason why I'm going to say they have a lot of impact. First person, I think, is and should be on the list, in my opinion, maybe number 50.
Yeah, I would replace it.
Master P.
Yeah.
I think Master P is a pioneer of the independent artist.
Yeah.
He taught everybody how to pop your trunk and sell out a tape.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not depend on the labels and create your own lane and create your own label. And he's such an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Like, he's opened up so many different windows for artists that if you just look at his blueprint, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, P changed the game.
I think artists were like trying to catch deals so often back then in the 90s, trying to get signed. And I think Master P was the one of the first ones, and not the only one, because the boys in Texas been doing it forever. Mm-hmm. But he was one of the ones that took it to mainstream, took independent artistry to be in the mainstream. Like, hey, you know what? You don't have to get signed. Just you sell 10,000 records out your trunk.
P said, "I'm not gonna be ripped off. I'm gonna rip you off, right, Romeo?" So
damn, right? See, murder. Damn.
I just played
cutthroat.
But
no, it's hard to argue his impact, bro.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue his impact. He inspired a lot of inspired Cash Money records. He inspired, Swisha House. He inspired so many of these independent record labels that blossomed and bloomed during that time. You've got to give that man his respect. When I thought, and it's kind of like you can't have one without the other. But Snoop and Dre together, kind of changed West Coast hip hop for a long time. You know, when Dre came out, he was with World Class Wrecking Crew, and then he went on to NWA, right, and then transitioned from NWA, and that's when he found Snoop. And I feel like that 92, 93, him and Snoop, really changed where hip hop was going in terms of the West Coast hip hop, and you can't argue that. I put them together because Snoop did so much writing for Dre, but Dre did so much producing for Snoop, and it became the sound of the West Coast.
Yeah, you know what's unfair? I'm glad you said Snoop, and when we were looking at the list, we kind of briefly touched on his name a little bit, but it's unfair, man. Like, I said that Jay gets a lot of credit for a lot of the things he did in entertainment in general, right? Yeah. Some can argue that Snoop has had just as much impact as one of Jay-Z. Yeah. They're totally different artists, but they both have great catalogs. Yeah. They both are a sound of their demographic, right, of their coast. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They both transcended the game, the game of hip hop, and outside of hip hop introduced cooking, Martha Stewart, cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what's a wilder pair than Snoop and Martha Stewart?
Yeah, bro. Like, I think Jay-Z and Snoop probably longevity wise have had the most impact on hip hop than anybody else in the culture. Period.
Snoop Dogg is hip hop's Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I agree.
He's like the most acceptable stoner you can find.
In fact, Billboard, that list should have Jay-Z and Snoop at number one. Now that I think about everything that you guys listed, those two should be at number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because they had the most impact, bro. They've been here the longest, and they're still doing it, and they're still making an impact.
Right.
Like, they're old heads making an impact and are respected. Like, some may say that later in Snoop's career, the quality of some of his stuff's kind of tanked a little bit, but Snoop is Snoop, bro. Like, Snoop's always been the one lacing up the track, bro, doing something that everybody wants to hear and see.
One other person that I would say large impact on hip hop, and it's hard to bring it down to one person or one, but the founder himself, DJ Kool Herc. To find a necessity to get your people together so they stay out of trouble in the streets and ain't doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
And to be like, hey, I'm gonna throw this party and it's free and you can come down here and check this out, and to get other DJs on board with doing the same thing, Grandmaster Flashes and such of the world, and to inspire people like Jam Master Jay, KRS-One, Marley Mal. You know, it's hard not to go to the original.
How many of today's artists do you think even know anything about where that hip hop originated?
I would say more than we think, but not as much as necessary.
It doesn't show in the music.
No, it doesn't. And
like, music's about creativity, and I get that, in your own sound. But at some point, you got to pay some sort of homage to who created it.
Old
right?
hip hop heads in performing, excuse me, there's always the MC and the DJ.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand together.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much influence the DJ has. More times than not, it's like MC and producer.
Yeah.
Kind of going hand in hand together, right? And, you know, sometimes producers do things on the wheels of steel behind the scenes or whatever, and you know, they don't take on that DJ title. But I think there's something to be said about that. I think the DJ has a big effect on your live performance. If you're rocking and you got a dope DJ, some of my favorite shows we ever did was my boy DJ Pauly, because he was legit at doing what he did, man. Like, he knew where to scratch, he knew what we liked, and man, it made the show go. And I think I've seen Immortal Technique with DJ G.I. Joe, and that show was one of my favorite shows I've ever seen, you know, just because that DJ knew how to control the party. The DJ was the life source of the party, and that's why I say DJ Kool Herc, because he is the life source of hip hop.
I would be interested to see a top 50 lyricists of all time.
That becomes a way different.
It's a way different conversation.
List.
Because a lot of those people that are on that top 50 list wouldn't even be mentioned.
Yeah, Jada be top 10 in my opinion.
For sure.
At least top 20.
Cole would be up there.
Yep, exactly.
Should I talk about my second person?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wanted you to finish with that.
Yeah, man, this second person, right? Again, everybody's gonna hate me for saying this, but when you think about today's world,
Yes.
right? This person, I feel, introduced hip hop. Not really introduced, transcended the relationship between hip hop and social media and the influence that social media can have. Tekashi 6ix9ine. He taught everybody how to be a clout chaser, turned into a hip hop star, right? He taught. He's not who he says he is, right? Everybody knows he's not who he says he is. He puts on this persona, but he's still loved. You know, hate him or like him, like, that dude sold tons of records, made millions of dollars, and opened up a lane for a lot of people who just love to rap but ain't really about that life.
I think he showed that you could have social media stardom and translate that into a following that will push your career.
Tekashi is the Jake Paul of hip hop.
That's a great comparison.
He's the Jake
That's
Paul
a really
of hip
good
hop,
comparison.
bro.
I mean, that's really what he did, right? He created this while rapping. He created this social media following, doing this outlandish, crazy shit. You know, calling out these people, going to their neighborhoods, calling out these people, running with doing some John Morant shit, rolling with some wild ass people that maybe he shouldn't be rolling with. You know, doing all this crazy stuff for clout, like you say, for social media clout, for a following, and that translates into streams. That translates. He did take, he's not the first one to do this, but he did take the game at this current juncture with the technology to a different level in terms of, you know, doing shit for streams, doing shit for attention, so that it ends up on your page, you know, the same page that you're uploading your music to. You're uploading these outlandish ass videos, and then you're following that and keeping it rolling, and that translates to numbers for what you're putting out there. So, you know, just because somebody influences the culture doesn't mean it's a good influence or a bad influence, right? That's the question, like, who's most influential? And that's a very interesting one to point out, because he did have a lot of influence on what some of these knuckleheads do now.
Yeah, and, you know, influence could be a bad and a good influence. So I hope everybody takes from his clout chasing ways and realizes that can get you in it could be real sticky real quick if you get into those kind of situations. Look at John Morant. Like,
I was gonna say, I think what people need to realize, and I think Jaw's realizing this, hopefully he's realizing this now too, is everything you see on social media and on TV or hear in the music or in the movies isn't real.
that's for sure.
These people are artists. They do things in an art form.
Yep.
They may have lived this life at some point in their life, but these people aren't pushing kilos. And if they are, they're getting caught,
Yeah.
you know, or they're getting snitched on. You know, I think the stuff that's going on with Young Thug, right? This isn't real life that you see these people post about all the time. Just because this dude posts about having stacks and stacks of cash, i.e. Tekashi, posting having all this cash, doesn't mean he's caked up like that. You know what I'm saying? Just because folks do videos with these gaudy jewelry on $100,000, $200,000 chains on, doesn't mean they own them chains.
No.
These cars are rented. These chains are rented.
And
These
a lot
houses
of
are
it
rented.
It's costume jewelry too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's all about the image.
What's the old saying? All that glitters is not gold.
Yeah. It's all about the image, man. So be careful of who you're trying to be, who you want to be like. Just be you. At the end of the day, we're here to be ourselves, our individual selves, and
right.
your life is what you make it, not what anybody else has made it, and not what anybody else has successfully done. It's about what you do.
Well said, brother. I think on that we'll put a fork in this 1 hour and a half into this thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, before we get out of here, though, man, as usual, we want to shout out all the people that mess with us. Shout out to Arsenal Custom Apparel, Rebel Promotions, Black Sevens, Char's Lash All Beauty, Janice's Catering, Denver North Junior Wrestling. Yo, shout out to Icon Sales and Icon Boxing. Yo, if you fool with us, man, make sure you share our page, share our Instagram, share our website, dnasportsdenver.com. Help us out, get some views, some followings, man. Tell your people about us.
Hey, shout out to Anytime Flood Restoration, and shout out to Cutthroat Anglers and Barbers.
Yes.
Coach is actually going there today for a dope fly fisherman expo, believe, Coach, is what it is.
It's a fly fishing class. I'm about to go learn how to flip that fly out there so I can catch all these fish and outfish all my fellow anglers.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Coach AJ and everything he's doing at Cutthroat Anglers and Barbers, man. He's doing great things, and if you're into fly fishing or want to get into fly fishing, make sure you check him out, because he's going to have a lot more opportunities like this in the future.
As usual, Dom, thank you, man. I appreciate you for everything, brother, and making this show super enjoyable. Until next time, man, that'll be when. I can't wait, brother.
Yeah, me too, man. Likewise.
Yo, follow us, subscribe. Love y'all. We out.
Check
Peace.
us out.